101. Let's start there with 101. And really, maybe you need some cultural significance so that it enlightens your thinking about my thinking. 101. 101 in America is your basic level college course for a freshman. You've just left high school. You're on your own. You're no longer at home quite often. You've went off to university or college. You are staying in a dorm, and your first semester, first year classes will be 101 classes. So, kind of like the Dewey Decimal System, which you also may not know, is you start with a 3-number designation. And so you might have, say for instance, Bible 101 or New Testament Survey 101, meaning it's a entry-level first year freshman class. Psalm 101. So I think I've overlooked Psalm 101 far too long. Psalm 101 is an entry-level basic course in how to live your life. And it starts with God, of course, in verse 1. The psalm says it's a psalm of David, and it says that David is appreciating, rejoicing about the character of God, that God is just. And so everything that flows from this psalm flows from the principle that he is praising, he is appreciating, he is recognizing who God is. I really think if you've not got that, you can't go further. If that's not your starting point, then everything I'm going to say after this really is irrelevant to you. If you attempt to go through the rest of it, live according to it, or act like it, but God isn't your starting point, if he isn't what you're starting with, an appreciation, a praise, a recognition of who he is, particularly in this case, his justice, well then you're not going to be able to appreciate the rest of it. In fact, I want to warn you, if self-righteousness, that is a godless perspective, but a humanistic perspective of self-righteousness is your motivation, well then that's the end of the story. You really can't build on the rest of this 101 psalm. But let's say you're with me. You're praising God because God is just. And that's going to bring up the first introspection. The first way you look at yourself. You say, oh, I just saw a just God, an amazing God. And I remember immediately, I'm not. Therefore, I will commit myself to living a blameless life. A life where that judge who metes out justice, the judge who determines what's good or bad, will look and say, this one's good. He went the direction I said. He followed my expectations, my laws. He lived according to my patterns. That's what this blamelessness is all about. And so, if that's not you, then you can't go further. You have to start with God, and then you have to respond to God by saying, I want to be like that. I want to be found just. I want to be found blameless. I want the judge to look at me and say, yep, that's good. Approval. And since we're on that academic thinking, who is judging the quality and purposes and direction of your life? You're writing a thesis. You're taking quizzes. You're reading books. Your whole life is studying to see, do you get it? And you're being tested. And who's administering the test? God, the judge. And David says, I want to get an A. I want to get 100% on this. I want to be found to be blameless. And from there, David begins to work through all that's necessary to accomplish that goal. Have you wanted to accomplish a goal? Have you wanted to achieve a particular status, or have you wanted to earn your degree, get the job, get the promotion, earn enough for the vacation? Have you wanted to achieve a particular goal? Well, then you've had to set about making plans and figuring out how you'll get there. David has done that. He says, I'm going this way and not that way. I'm going to start by the things I see. I don't want the judge to look at me and say, you wasted your time with a bunch of rubbish. No, he wants you to be careful, little eyes, what you see. And then he stretches a little further and he says, you know, I'm going to make my bed. I'm going to set my room in order. I'm going to clean up. I'm going to prepare for this judge. I'm going to shave. I'm going to get my clothes on. I'm going to wash up. Because I'm going to be tested. I'm going to have an interview. I want to look the part that I'm desiring. I want to look the position that I'm going for. And because of that, he makes an effort. He cleans things up. He works on himself. And he works on his home. And then he says, I want to run a tight ship. I want my kids or my employees or I want everything around me to also go in that direction. I want to have an excellent firm that is all pulling for the same goal, the goal of achievement of these goals. And so he sets the climate for everyone around him. And that carries out all the way to political aspirations. He's saying, it's not enough for my own heart. It's not enough for my own environment and home. It's not enough for my friends. It's not enough for my workplace. I've got to affect so that everybody has the opportunity to be in the presence of God. And if God's going to show up, if he's going to give us attention, if he's going to give us a, European city of 2024, if we're going to be found fit to have the Olympics or the World Cup, or if we're going to be chosen for that prize, that award, that sponsorship, that position, well then we've got to achieve a certain level. And so that means everybody has got to be on board. And that's how he looks at it. He's looking for anything that might keep that from happening. And any hindrance to achieving the goal of God's approval on the areas of justice, holiness, righteousness, those got to go. Any sabotage, any treason, anyone working against it, any jobs worths, they've got to be winnowed out. They've got to be turned around. They've got to be removed, because we're going to go to get the approval of the God of the universe. That's 101 thinking.